Have you ever wondered what it takes to own and operate a seven-figure Turo fleet? If so, this is the perfect video for you because I'm going to be taking you through an interview that I did with a Fort Myers Turo fleet owner who operates a fleet called Island Rides, which consists of 85 different vehicles. In this interview, we're going to be going over some of the things he did to grow, some of the things he's learned, and some of the tips that he has for you guys if you're wanting to get to a seven-figure level. So without further ado, let's kick off this interview with Jaron, the owner of Island Rides. Awesome. Well, thank you, Jaron, for being here today. I know that you're going to be just incredibly valuable to my YouTube audience, the people that watch this video, as well as me. I've selfishly been looking forward to this interview today to just learn about what you're doing. And obviously you're doing a lot right. And so I'm excited to dive into this discussion. So you're located in Fort Myers, Florida. You have 5,100 trips on Turo. Can you go into a little bit of depth on just kind of how you got to where you are today, what cars you started out with, what kind of your fleet looks like today, and just kind of go into a bit of detail on what type of fleet you're operating?
I think back in 2017, I got a job promotion, which included a company vehicle. So I had my company truck and I had just purchased a brand new Mini Cooper, Type S, turbo, not all decked out and everything. So it was sitting in my garage for a couple months and I'm just like wondering, I'm paying like $350 a month. What do I do with this thing? And then I'm searching on Google and I found Turo, make money with your car. And I wanted to try it. My wife was like, no, somebody's going to steal it or crash it. I'm like, it looks like it's covered. I mean, so I went ahead and put it on there, started making, $400 or $500 a month. Figured out ways to drop the prices and do deliveries and end up making almost $1,000 a month on it. So got the idea to, hey, let's buy some more cars. So bought like an old 2012 Honda Pilot and a 2014 Mercedes GLK. And then those are the original three cars that I had. And we started making a lot of money, with this venture, and I still had my full-time job. So it was easy to do both. And my work was right near the airport too. So eventually I had about 10 cars and I had a lot of them parked at my employer's place of business, and my boss was pretty cool. And I would actually sometimes on lunch go pick up people at the airport and they drop me off at my office and I'd go back to work. So it just worked out logistically. And then eventually I got, 15, 20 cars, had to find a lot near the airport, pay somebody $500, $600 a month to park my cars. And then just it kind of expanded from there, just making sure I had the logistics in place before I got bigger and bigger.
Amazing. So you went to, I actually have this written down to ask you a little bit later on, but I'll just ask it now. So whenever you got to like 15, 20, is that whenever it went from being kind of a more single person operation to being a full-fledged airport operation?
Yeah, we're pretty close to the airport. It's a smaller airport, so it was pretty easy to get in and out of the airports. So we would, my brother-in-law and I and my wife, and we'd be delivering cars. My young daughter at the time would just be so angry that she had to sit in the cars driving with us. So yeah, it got kind of a little difficult after about 15 cars to manage that and a family and a full-time job. So ended up just got lucky once I got like 25 cars. My daughter moved down here. She just graduated University of Florida, and so I was able to her and her boyfriend were able to work for me, and I was able to expand the business quite heavily once they were working for me full time. Went from like 20 cars to 60 pretty quick.
And what period of time did you make that increase?
The past 2 years now we're up to about 85 cars or so. We're defleeting right now. We're selling a lot of the older cars, and then buying new ones before next season. Before it gets season here is when it gets colder. So hurricane season, it gets pretty slow.
So the summer is not y'all's busy season. It is during whenever it's colder in the north and they come to the south.
Rainy season, and then you have hurricanes, you have mosquitoes, you have sand so hot that'll give you second-degree burns on your feet at the beach. So yeah, it's not the best time. So it gets kind of slow.
Interesting. Okay. I wouldn't have expected that. So whenever you went and you were scaling your fleet upwards, was there any sort of diversification strategy that you adhered to, or was it just like buying the cars that work and not buying the ones that don't? Like, what was your thought process with that?
Yeah, I definitely didn't know what the hell I was doing. So I did diversify just to see how each car was going and kind of learn from my mistakes, so ended up figuring out which cars worked and then buying more of those cars. Really diversify because every car has its own purpose, whether it's a a Prius sips gas or it's a convertible. People down in Florida want convertibles, even though it's 150 degrees outside. They rent all year round. Family cars rent all year round, even like locals renting them to go up north or something. They like Suburbans and bigger cars. So yeah,
Okay.
definitely diversification is the way to go. But you gotta know your market. So yeah, kind of got to explore that and then figure out what works and keep track
Mhm.
of things, keep spreadsheets, make sure you know what's working, what's not.
What to avoid and what to really dive into.
Yeah.
And as far as the scaling the business upwards, so I have 15 cars, and on my channel I talk a lot about how I've done the kind of cash car model of like buying shooters. But one thing that I've always, and even as I'm looking to scale my business upwards, I'm starting to look into more and more is the financing of a lot of cars and how you go into that, because you can only pay cash for so many cars for so long. So what was your kind of experience with scaling to that 80, 85 number? Did you pay cash? Did you get business financing? Like, how did that work?
I got some opportunities early on. Turo had a little plan for Power Host with a Auto Finance Corporation, the mobility side. So it's basically a line of credit for car rental companies. And Turo was working with them, and they gave me a lump sum to spend, which really let me grow the business. At that point, I was not a dealer. Now I'm a dealer, so that helps a lot. Um, but back then, I had to go through a dealer to get cars at auction, and it was kind of like buy without seeing the cars because it was kind of sketchy. But they did like a minor inspection on them, so but they'd still come with problems. It wasn't very efficient, so I ended up finally getting my own place of business, and then I was able to get my dealer's license, and now I can do the auctions myself with that line of credit and then other lines of credit that I have.
Is that where you get the majority of your cars today, is through auctions?
Yeah, definitely. Everything I get pretty much is at auction. So
Interesting.
if you can, I mean, see what your state laws are, but in Florida, you have to have your own place of business. It can't be your home if you're going to get a dealer's license. So that was the big step I had to take, is to lease a place. So I had a place of business on the application. So it really helps a lot, just to avoid those markups, especially nowadays. Used car prices are so high, and you can't really buy new cars right now.
I mean, it's impossible. And Texas is very similar to Florida, as far as like what the dealer license guidelines are. And I know that the audience of this channel has asked me so many times over the years what my thoughts are on getting a dealer's license. And I've never really been able to speak to it because I don't personally have one. And so would you say, like, if somebody is wanting to scale up to your level, is in your opinion a dealer's license almost a must have? Or like what are your thoughts on that, I guess?
I mean, I was up to maybe 40 cars without a dealer's license, but it's definitely made it more efficient and more cost effective. A lot of my cars I purchased 3 years ago. I know it's the market and how car prices are, but I bought cars 3, 4 years ago, and I'm selling them for what I bought them for at that time. It's insane. So that's what I'm dealing with right now, is like title work, selling them all to the auction. It's a lot easier to sell them. You can sell them wholesale and still make that much money. It just makes things a lot more efficient and easier, in my opinion. So I would definitely recommend it if you can. Plus, if you're getting that big, and it's probably gonna be difficult to put your cars at a home residence location or something. So if you're gonna lease a space, parking space, might as well get like maybe an old rundown warehouse building or something, or a tenant area, and just get your dealer's license.
Pivoting to the operation side of the business, you had mentioned that your daughter and her boyfriend work for
Yeah,
you. So
yeah.
her they work for you, and kind of, I guess my question is, when did you start pivoting to having employees on staff for your fleet? And what does your fleet staff look like today? Like, how many people do you have? How many hours do they work? Like, how do you just, can you give me a glimpse on like the operation side of things?
Oh yeah, at first it was all family run business, and it was my brother-in-law, all my family, and then pandemic hit, and then my daughter, she just graduated college at the peak of the pandemic, so she was going for her master's, and then she ended up not wanting to do that, so she was living with us, and we put in the work, 40 hours a week, both of them, just doing all the Turo stuff while I worked full-time at my job. And then now they're moving back up to Gainesville, so I had to hire 2 new employees full-time. So they're not, it's the first time I've had non-family members working for me, and it's working out really great. um, but so right now it's myself. My employer, I think, had enough of me doing my business, so I kind of got let go recently. So I was a full-time environmental consultant, environmental scientist, My background's
Really?
environmental science. Yeah. So it's a job I can do mobile. So I just created my own environmental consulting firm last week, so I can still do that in my spare time.
That's
So
amazing.
that's gonna be my side gig. So yeah, so I have a lot of clients that I've worked with the past 20 years or so. So they're happy to be able to stay with me. But I digress. It's now I have 2 employees plus a couple family members still that are part time. So 4 employees total plus myself. Right now during slow season, we're trying to find things to do, but we're expanding into like motorcycle rentals and RV rentals, stuff like that. So it's staying kind of busy.
Are you doing those on like I think it's Twisted Road that does the
Yeah,
motorcycle rentals? Are you doing those through a peer-to-peer shop platform, or are you veering
yeah,
off into direct?
peer to peer for now. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, Rider Share, and then there's the other one, Twisted Road.
How do you like it so far? I know that that's kind of off topic from Turo, but I've always been interested in that concept as well.
I did it pre-pandemic for about 6 months with a Honda CBR, and I was making $800 or $900 a month on a bike that's probably worth $6,000. So yeah, it's that's why I kind of got into it, because car prices are so high right now that you can get a brand new bike, especially when at auction for like $6,000.
Yeah,
It make $800-900 a month. So
very
it's
cool.
you can barely buy a Honda 2007 Prius for that right now. It's like
Oh, I mean, it's insane. I was thinking recently, I was talking to somebody about how like back in the day it was very normal for even me, somebody that's never had a dealer's license, to buy a car, like a good solid Turo car for 3 grand. And now it's like the best you can find is 6. And even then it's not even a good car for 6K.
yeah, I know it's pretty bad.
Yeah, it's crazy. So going into kind of the on the same topic of operations, with a fleet your size, what are some of the things that you find difficult to manage or difficult to just like I guess what are kind of the biggest pain points of managing a fleet to that degree?
That's definitely keeping track of maintenance and repairs. Especially we're trying to defleet our older cars just because check engine lights come on a lot. That's really the biggest pain. TPMS sensors. Oh my god. People think the world's going to end when a TPMS sensor light comes on, or if it's on, and you're like, did you ever drive a car pre 2003? I mean, you can see if your tires are low, but yeah, so cars get delisted from Turo for stuff like that, and then we got to go fix them. So that's why I kind of bought a lift and a tire changer here just to do our own maintenance and repairs. I was able to get you know, an account with a tire distributor, so we're getting tires cheaper. Accounts with AutoZone. So definitely, if you have an LLC or something, I would go with that. Try to get an account with AutoZone so you can get your wipers for $6 a pair. It's like it's make it more efficient, more cost effective. Wherever you're losing money the most, keep track of that, and then try to make profit off of that.
Mhm.
Spending $6,000-7,000 a month on maintenance and repairs. So
And that's actually one of the things that I like whenever, so I think I had mentioned this to you whenever I reached out to you initially, is one of the things that really attracted me to getting you interviewed and on the channel was the fact that you had written a post on Facebook that I saw about how you're doing a shop and you have a tire lift and you're really kind of turning these real pain points of cost for Turo hosts into not only an area that you can save money, but also potentially a full-on revenue generating income source by kind of doing these types of things for potentially other people. Is that something that you're exploring and going into, or is it just purely to streamline your own Turo business?
yeah, definitely. It's going to be an offshoot from the Turo business eventually. I hired a mechanic, Jen. She's awesome. She's handling our TikTok account right now at islandrides.rent. Follow us. But she's awesome. So she's working on the car stuff, and she wants to get into paintless dent removal and a little like minor body work and paint. Also, it's been very difficult to find somebody that can do that for us quickly. Body shops are just overwhelmed right now also, and it's just so yeah, try to find these areas where it's taking a lot of money from your business and try to flip it, and what can I do to make money on this situation. That's what I do. So yeah, so we're definitely going to get into like a maintenance shop, minor repairs and oil changes, stuff like that.
On the same topic of operations, one issue and one thing that I was really curious about is the topic of communication, because I know that with like my fleet, it's my fiance and I that manage it, and the issue of communication in the app sometimes does get I would say a little overwhelming even for 15 cars. And so my question is, how do you manage that with so many, and who's in charge of it? Is it a team effort? Is it one person? Can you kind of shed some light on that?
Yeah, at first it was all me, and then I found Street Smarts. They went out of business, and I'm back on a car sync now. So after 5,000 trips, I know exactly what questions come up most, frequently asked questions. So we have automated messages that when they first book, it goes over everything. All these comments, how do I add a driver? I can't add a driver. Can you help me? Please refer to Turo. Here's their phone number. We don't need tech support, stuff like that. Just try to make it more efficient so I'm not answering the same questions over and over again. So just keep track of what your customers are asking and then put it in an automated message at first. And then make sure in the bottom of that message where they might see it and say, hey, if if we don't respond to you within a few minutes, the answer to your question is probably above. Please read the instructions, because nobody likes reading instructions. But
That's funny. That was going to actually be my question is how many people ask you questions that are in that FAQ, and is putting that kind of disclaimer at the bottom really prevent that from happening?
doesn't prevent it, but it helps definitely.
That's interesting. That's very smart. So is it like I love CarSync. I think CarSync, I didn't use it for, well, I know Street Smarts, I use that as well. And I didn't use Street Smarts for a long time. And I, like, looking in hindsight, I'm like, how did I manage so long without using Street Smarts or CarSync? It's a huge lifesaver.
Yeah, it's the only way you can do it. Automation. Look at the car rental companies; they're all automated. It's just a necessity.
So we had mentioned a few moments ago how you have a shop and you're doing all the work on your own cars, and how maintenance is a big pain point for you. Other than, or I guess it's a pain point for any Turo host, but especially whenever you have 85 cars, it can be a pretty big pain point. Can you go into a bit of detail other than just like cutting costs on, creating corporate accounts, making sure you're getting things at cost or as much of a discount as you can get? What are some of your methods on managing the maintenance? Is it one person's job? Do you have a log? Is there like an online database? How do you kind of tackle that?
Yeah, we have a Google spreadsheet that everybody has access to. So if they see something wrong with the car, they can just add something into a space saying this car needs wipers. And then our mechanic Jen, she does quick inspections of the cars, and she's writing things down on the spreadsheet also, just keeping track of the date of the oil change, and tires, stuff like that. So definitely Google Sheets, and then make sure everybody has access to it if you have a team, just so you can collaborate and make sure nothing's missed.
Kind of pivot into a different thing. One thing that I really like about your operations is, one, I love the name Island Rides. I think it is a very cool, it just sounds really nice whenever you say it. And I love your logo. And I just think it's very clean, very professional. And I think it looks really good on the Turo profile. So I kind of want to go into that a bit and ask, one is, did you always have your Turo profile set up under Island Rides, or was it under your personal name first and then you pivoted? And if so, like, what is your experience operating it as kind of more of a business front?
Yeah, at first it was personal. And then I think after 10 or 15 cars, I moved it over to a business and started buying cars under the business name when I had the line of credit. And then what I found is I think it creates more trust if it's from a business. We have several cars. We say that in our profile. We say, coming. I used to be going back. I used to be a wedding DJ, and I would get so angry if I made a mistake or something and ruined somebody's day or something like that. So I always try to have backups and make sure that was never going to happen. So it's kind of like the same thing. People are paying all this money to come on vacation. If their car breaks down, I don't want them stranded somewhere and crying or something like that, ruining their vacation. So I say that, make sure your Turo host has backup plans, for your cars, or, that's what you get with Island Rides is we're always having a car, to back you up if something happens. Somebody's had some check engine lights down on one of the islands here, and we had somebody go run another car to him for a day until he could get it fixed. And that's what we offer. And I think having the business name and seeing that we have 85 cars in our fleet, it really helps. That it kind of gives us an edge. It allows us to actually charge more per day, I think, just because of that security blanket.
Interesting. I've never looked at it from that lens, but it definitely makes sense. And I know that for many of the people that I've spoken to, it's like an internal battle that you have of like, okay, do you want to ruin, I don't want to say ruin because that's not the right term, but do you want to take away that personal aspect and then make it purely business? And I've always kind of viewed it as, I think that the opposite's a benefit, but I think you're right. Is like, I think that there's so many guests that I've spoken to that are like, my last time I joined Turo or used Turo was horrible. Or the last time I tried Turo, the guest or the host canceled, an hour before or a day before. And with island rides and any type of business like that, it's not really an issue.
Yeah, we get a lot of that too. Saying, yeah, our host just canceled on us last minute. So yeah, it's definitely a concern for people, especially when they're new to the app and they're trying this out. I mean, when I first saw it, not using it ever, not listening to a car on it, I'm like going to, I think it was Denver or something. And I'm like, dude, I mean, I'm renting a car from somebody. What if they don't show up? Or what if
It seems like almost a scam.
it seems like a scam to the older people, especially, we have a
Yeah.
lot of older crowd here in Florida. So yeah, we try to make it technology able for them, but they have difficulties with technology, and then we try to like help them through it also with the automated messaging and I think it's a better thing to have a business, at least in some locations. It depends on,
Mhm.
I guess, where you are, but yeah, it
I
helped us.
agree with you. I think it's an interesting perspective, and I think that you're right for sure. So on that same topic of using island rides, I also noticed that you have a website, which is something, again, another thing I've debated on doing but haven't done, and I know a lot of people that have. And that's another thing I think you've done very well. Like sometimes you'll look at some Turo hosts that have a website that leads to their Turo listing and it just doesn't look very good. Yours is very clean. I love the way it looks. So to that question is, does having a website that leads to your Turo listing like you have you noticed it help bookings? Does it increase utilization? Kind of what's your thoughts on that?
If it's done well, I think it does. That was my old side gig, was doing social media and graphic design and graphic art and websites.
So you know what you're doing.
Yeah, so it kind of all came together in this business. All the stuff I did previously kind of helped out. All my experience previously helped out with this business. Um, but definitely, yeah, it helps a lot, just to see what cars we have, because one of the things I'm going to mention to Turo at this Powerhouse conference in San Francisco next week, is how come we can't search our own vehicles. So if somebody calls me and says, hey, what do you have available for this date? It used to be where you had your favorites selected, like your own cars were your favorites. You could search the dates you needed and all your favorites would come up first. They recently changed that for some reason where that doesn't happen anymore. So it took me 20, 30 minutes to search through my listings and see what's available. And it's just a big pain. So now they can, on my website, they can actually go and search, little search box there for reservations, and it shows what cars are available. And
Wow. That's a
yeah,
huge benefit because I agree with you. And even me just having a 15 car fleet, it's so annoying because it takes me a handful of minutes to 5 to 10 minutes to look through all my listings, figure out if it's available. The other thing that Turo should do is, I don't know why they don't allow for you to select a host and then search that host vehicles. I don't understand that. But that website, the ability to do that almost, I feel like is worth it in itself.
yeah, I was invited to the Powerhouse conference in San Francisco. It's Tuesday, and I have a long list of questions, and that's definitely top of my list. To help out the bigger hosts are trying to expand, just a easier way to get their clients that love them an easier way to search their own vehicles. There has to be something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. So on the same topic of the website, do you advertise at all for your Turo fleet, or do you just allow for Turo to kind of advertise for you?
It's been Turo advertising. I tried Google Ads for our website, and then here we end up getting local renters, which we try to avoid. Usually they're you run into a lot of problems with local renters. We try to try to aim towards tourists, and the airport locations. Definitely, you get a lot of problems. Cars getting impounded, cars getting crashed for locals, drug busts in our cars, drug dealing. We see it all. So, yeah.
So we only have two more questions left of the interview. And the second to last one is, I guess if you had to pick one, or I guess this is a two-part question. If you had to pick one piece of advice to give to a new Turo host, what would that advice be? And then on the flip side, what would a piece of advice for a kind of experienced host that's wanting to scale, almost somebody that like might be in my position where they have, between 5 and 15 cars, but they're really wanting to get to that 50 plus number?
Just don't overextend yourself. If you're putting all this credit in your name, make sure if you're buying a house in the future or something like that, make sure you know that that's going to affect your debt to income ratio. Definitely I would definitely use an LLC at first, make everything business, and then having all the car payments come from a business account, because if you are buying a house in the future, it's easier to show that, hey, these are business cars, and it's only being paid by the business. it's separating from personal and business. So it helps you if you're trying to get loans for other things. Yeah, my bookkeeper helps with all that stuff, but that's one thing I learned at first. See, I was helping my daughter try to get a house, and I had all these car loans, and it didn't make sense. So definitely, that's probably the way to go, is just to get an LLC, keep a business account, business checking account, have all your Turo funds go into that, and all your all your payments, insurance payments, everything go out of that business account. Keep it separate.
Okay.
To expand, definitely the LLC and then building business credit is the way to go. Getting little accounts with just like suppliers and stuff. Make sure you make your payments on time. Definitely get your business credit going as early as possible. Make sure your personal credit's good, because sometimes you're a guarantor on your business purchases. So try to get 1 or 2 cars. Once you have everything set up and going, try to get a car in your business name, and then just go from there. Just that's what I did, kind of. Just it took a while, just establishing the business and then making sure the business credit was good to be able to get cars in the business name eventually.
And so the final question is, and I know that this is one that a lot of people are always interested in knowing, if you don't mind sharing, how much revenue does your Turo fleet bring in per month?
Right now we're averaging probably $90,000 to $100,000 a month.
So about 80 to 85 cars, 90 to 100,000.
Yeah.
Wow, that is insane. That's crazy.
That's one thing also, is make sure you have your extras like car seats. Where you live here, I didn't catch on until probably last year, but beach gear, we offer like a nice pair of beach chairs and umbrella, and they get like $45 a trip, and we just they go out almost every trip. So the other revenue streams you can make on the extras section, that really helps you out a lot too. Car seats, stuff like that.
So do you find that extras are really worthwhile? I've always heard, like with car seats specifically, I've always heard bad things about it, that I've never experimented with it. But do you think that it's worthwhile to kind of go into those, car seats, to your point, beach gear, depending on if you live near the beach, and those make a significant difference?
Yeah, I mean, car seats we're getting like $8 a day for. So I mean, they only cost like $120. So you don't have to install them or anything. That's a liability issue. You just put them in the car for them, and then there's really no
Okay.
issue. So
Interesting.
yeah, I mean, and it's 7-day trip, it adds, $50, $60 to the trip. And sometimes in the Suburbans, they're getting 4 or 5 car seats. So it's a lot of extra money.
Is
So
there any type of, and this might be too, like, kind of a stupidly specific question, but is there any type of car seat that you get, or do you just get like a variety of like the booster seat versus the toddler seat, or like what do you look for whenever you're buying a car seat for the fleet?
yeah, the Graco convertible car seats. So it's rear facing or front facing up to 65 pounds. Just it kind of kills 2 birds with 1 stone. So
Interesting. I might have to try that. I think I'll buy one of those and see how it does.
yeah, definitely try it out.
Awesome. Well, hey, that kind of ends the questions that I have for you. I really appreciate you being here. But before we end things, let the audience know kind of where they can find you. I know that you had mentioned that you've started doing TikTok. So if you have anything that you want them to check out, now's your time to kind of plug it.
Yeah. After that post on Facebook, I've had a ton of questions about how we do things. So we're definitely gonna we're starting a TikTok channel. We just started it last week, but we're gonna post some tips and tricks on there, and just a little everyday glimpse into what we do. So I think that'll be very helpful to young Turo hosts. It's at islandrides.rent. It's and also Instagram is our same thing, islandrides.rent. So check it out in there, and give us a follow, and we'll be posting some cool stuff and some funny stuff or stories that we come across, with certain renters and everything. We'll keep names out of it, but yeah, we'll show you what happens.
Perfect. Well, I will also include all of those links to the Turo page, TikTok, Instagram, any social. I will include a link down to those in the description below. So anybody who wants to check that out, be sure to check out the description. And yeah, in the meantime, I really appreciate you being here. This was hugely valuable. And yeah, I appreciate your time. So you guys, I hope that you enjoyed this video with Jaron from Island Rides. I know that I learned a ton from this conversation, and I walked away already knowing some things that I want to implement in my own Turo fleet. But let me know what you think about this interview as well as this format down in the comments below. This is something that I want to start periodically doing here on the channel, because at the end of the day, as much as I've learned about Turo over the years, and as much as I want to spread my knowledge about Turo, there are a lot of Turo hosts out there that are significantly more experienced, more successful than I am, and I would love to continue to connect with these hosts so that we can all learn together on how to grow our fleet to a 6 or 7 figure per month operation. So let me know your thoughts down below. I can definitely continue doing these if you guys enjoy this style of content. But like always, you guys, if you have any questions, comments, if you have anything to add, make sure to leave a comment down below. Make sure to check out all of Jaron's socials, his TikToks, his Turo profile, his Instagram. I'll include those down in the description below as well. And while you guys are at it, make sure to hit the like button, hit that subscribe button, and hit the notification bell. And I will see you guys in the next video.